This question is for Mr. Chang, but others on the panel are obviously welcome to answer. I spend much of my time working with numerous small and medium-sized manufacturers that have been harmed in one way or another in China. Most of the time the issue is theft of intellectual property and piracy, which is the case with a wastewater treatment company in my district called Aqua Aerobics. We actively engaged the Chinese embassy and asked them to intervene, and actually got a favorable ruling in the Chinese courts on that issue. Other times, but how many companies can pick up the phone and go to their congressman to get a direct intervention on an obvious IP violation? Other times the problem is more complicated, such as the case of the office shredder maker Fellows. It's I think the #1 paper shredder maker in this country. They're fighting a fierce battle in China on a joint venture where they were locked out. Inventory stolen, machine tools, business practices, and IP. And if you're big, you can succeed. But the small guys and the medium-sized manufacturers are having an extraordinarily difficult time. And so how do we encourage the national, provincial, and local governments in China to enforce the law? And beyond rhetoric and grand themes, there has to be a better way of dealing with China. I guess that's an easy question.
Right, and I think the important thing that we have to do is start, as I said, less diplomacy in a way. But I also think that we need to follow the approach of H.R. 2378, which is really to impose penalties whenever we see that there are violations of China's trade obligations, because this gives us immediate relief. You talk about the problems of small manufacturers. They can't wait for the 3 or 4 years that it takes to get through the dispute resolution mechanism of the World Trade Organization. That is just not a practical remedy for them. And that's why I think that we need legislation, which is really tough, because when we do that, the Chinese will understand. They have reacted to pressure, and this is really about the only way I think that we can do it in terms of saving small manufacturers, because their plight is not only important, it's also urgent.
But sometimes it's like whack-a-mole. You go in there. I've testified twice before the ITC on tires, recreation vehicle tires and automobile tires, and once was on a surge, and the other two were on dumping and illegal subsidies. And you get the remedies, and then they come right back again, and all of a sudden someone's doing the same thing under a different name. It's over and over and over and over again, and these companies spend fortunes on attorney's fees trying to protect their intellectual property. Can't there be a mechanism that our government can have, for lack of a better word, an 800 number for people who are the objects of piracy, that simply can't afford attorneys to go in there and do battle for them?
Well, we certainly could do that in many ways. That would basically involve beefing up the commercial sections of our embassy in Beijing and in the consulates around China, but also in the Department of Commerce. It just needs to be put up a higher priority that we have. Normally what happens in trade disputes, as you point out, is you have this enormous litigation, and the United States really relies on injured parties to bring their case and to prosecute it. I think that your suggestion is an excellent one, which is really to have the government be much more proactive and to bring all sorts of proceedings, both internally in the United States and through the WTO, because that's about the only way we can do it. We need to speed up the process, because time, I think, is critical.
I would look forward to meeting you in my office and putting our heads together and try to come up with some type of remedy there.
I'll be there.
Thank you very much. I yield back my time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manzullo.